This is Gemara Metziah, Daf Pei Zayin, and we're holding on Pei Zayin Amid Aleph. We are 5 lines from the top, and we are in the middle of discussing Avram Avinu feeding the Malachim. And we concluded with Vecha Bas Lechem V'Labokar Yibratz Avram. And from here we learn the very famous Maimer Chazal, Sadikim Oimrim Ma'at V'Oisin Harbei. Whereas unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but yes, that there were Shaim. Oimrim Harbei V'Afilu Ma'at Einon Oisim. So continues the Gemara 6 lines down, Minolon. From where do we know that Rishayim act as such? Me'Efrain. We learn it out from Ephraim. Meikarik Severis Arba Meo Shekel Kasef. The land is worth 400 shekel kasef. Soivik sev. Vayishma Avram Avram Vayishkel Avram. The Avram is a kasef v'sher dover baz v'neichait. Arba Meo shekel kasef. Oiver la soicher. And the Loshakim Alakantere, meaning that Ephraim would only take from him a kantere. The Ika Dochtam. There are places where they call a tikla, a shekel, a kantara. So says the Gemara, from here we see that in as much as Ephraim originally said, Beini u'beinecha mahi, the land is 400 shekel, but between me and you, what is it? And at the end, you would only take 400 kasef shekel at the highest evaluation. Continues the Gemara with the incredible achnasas archim of Avram Avinu. Oh, excuse me. There we go. Says the Gemara. It says over here, kamach. What does Avram Avinu say? He's going to make food from kamach. And then it says, soiles, that he's going to make it from fine flour. Amarav Yitzchak, 15 lines down. First one line is, soiles mikan. Sha'isha tzara eineha ba'archim yeser min ha'ish. See from here that a woman is stingier than a man. How do we see this? Because she gave less than that which Avram said. So we see that a woman actually gives less. Ksiv the pasuk says, Lushi v'asiu gais, knead and make cakes, uksev ikachema v'chalav uben abakar. And then the pasuk says, he took cream and milk and the bakar, he put it in front of them. What happened to the bread that Sarah made? Explains the Gemara, Amar Ephraim Maksha, that was his name, Talmidai Shal Rameir, Mishmeder Rameir. He said over from Avram Avinu, Oichel Chulin Betayra Hayam. Avram Avinu would eat even Chulin Betayra, Bisari Meinu Oisayim Birsanida. And Sarah Meinu, after hearing the incredible news that she's going to give birth, became an Ida. Her Oirach Kanashim returned. So she became an Ida, and therefore the bread became Tameh. And therefore Avram Avinu would not feed such bread, he would not put that on his table. Continues the Gemara. As we are Sarah, she's in the tent. This teaches us that Sarimenu was modest. Amar Rav Yud, Amar Ravi, Dim Rav Yitzchak, Yoidim Ayam Malachei Hashareis, Shesarimenu, Ba'el Elamai, Ba'el. So why do they ask where she is? Kidei, says the Gemara, incredible. Lechabibal, Ba'el, even Avram Avinu needs to hear something nice about his wife. Rav Yesi, Rav Chanina, Amar K'tei L'shagar L'kais, Shal Bracha. The reason is they wanted to send to her the Kais Shal Bracha that they benched over. Tanam Mishmeim, Rav Yesi, Lama Nakod Al Eyoi Shevei Love. Why are there dots on top of the Aleph Yud and Vav in the word Love? Lemeimra Taira Derech Eretz. That what? Sheishal Adam Sheichsaniyu B'Shalai. A person should inquire as to the welfare of the Achsaniya of the hostess, and that's what the Malachim did about Sari Imenu. Ask the Gemara 1 second. I've Amar Shmuel Ein Shayalim B'Shalai Isha Klal. 2 lines in the white lines. Should never ask about the welfare of a woman. Answers the Gemara, Alidei Baila Shaini. You don't ask Stam, but to ask someone's husband, that is allowed. Continues the Gemara, Darshin the Psukim by Sari Meinu. She laughed And she said, I've withered. Is there any way that I should again have delicate skin? Is it possible I could really have a child? Amarav Chista, on the first very wide line, is Bala Basar. Says Sari Menu, after the skin has withered, Varabu Akmatim, and there are many wrinkles, Nis Adina Basar. Should the skin become delicate, Vinispashtu Akmatim, and should the wrinkles smooth out, the beauty should return. So Menu left, it says, my husband is old, and the Pasuk says, and he's a kanti. And the Pasuk says, Hashem told Avram that she said, I became old. Hashem did not say exactly like she said. Done it by Rabbi Yishmael. Gadol Shalom. We see how incredible Shalom is. Again, we're dealing with Avram Avinu. Sorry, Menu. And yet, Shafilu HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shina by Hashem changed for Shalom Shenemar. V'atislach Sarah B'kirba, Sarah left inside V'goymer. V'adoni Zakein, my husband is old. Ukseva Yemar Shem Avram. What did Hashem tell Avram? V'ani Zakanti, that she said, I am old. V'atoymer. And she says, Mimil Avram Anika Bina Bonim Sarah. So what happened? Yitzchak is born, and Sarah said, who could have told Avram that Sarah would nurse a child? Kama Bonim Inika Sarah. Ask the Gemara, the Pasuk says plural, Hanika. Says the Gemara, what does that mean? She's only nursing Yitzchak. Amar Rav Levi Yisem Shekamal Avram as Yitzchak in the day that Avram Avinu weaned off Yitzchak from nursing Yitzchak Benai Asa Suda Gedaila. Avram Avinu made an incredible feast. People were mumbling. People were murmuring and saying, look, ridiculous. You think really it's their child? They got a child from the market. It's not their kid. And now they're making a party to prove Kilu that it's their child. It's not true. Masa Avram Avinu. What Avram Avinu do? Call Gedali Adar. Visari Menu Zimnu as Nishayam. He invited all the Gedalim. And Sarah Menu invited their wives. Everyone brought their children. Omani Kasa Loyeviyam. But they didn't bring the maid, the nurses, excuse me. And their breasts open up like two fountains. Vinika as Kulan, and she was able to nurse incredibly all the children. And still, you see how incredible, how much people want to talk. People are still saying, Sarah Habas, Tishim Shanim Teled. Okay, Sarah Avinu was 90 years old. Avram ben Meir Shanim Yoeled, but Avram's 100 years old. How can he give birth? The features of Yitzchak, v'nidme Avram, and he looked exactly like Avram Avinu. Pascha kulam v'amru, they all opened their mouth and they said, Avram oilid es Yitzchak. Continues the Gemara, we're 12 lines at the bottom. The first line is Hailid ad Avram lo yazikna, until Avram Avinu, there was no such thing as old age. Man dehave ba'il mishtai ba'adadi Avram. And because Avram Avinu looked identical to Yitzchak, whoever wanted to speak to Avram, Mishtai Badi Yitzchak, would talk to Yitzchak. Mamish identical twins. Badi Yitzchak, Mishtai Badi Avram. They want to talk to Yitzchak, they talk to Avram. Also Avram, Bayirachme, Avram Avinu, David. Vavi Zikna, and he looked old. Shem Avram Zakin Ba Bayamim. Ad Yaakov lo v'cholsha, until Yaakov Avinu was no such thing as sickness. Also Yaakov Bayirachme v'cholsha shenemar. Vayirm the Yosef Ne'avicha Chayli, your father is sick. Ados Elisha lo yaveh dechalish v'itbach, until Elisha and Avi came along. There was no such person who got sick. And v'itbach, and got better. Also Elisha Bayirachme v'itbach, Elisha came and David, and he got better. Shemar v'Elisha cholas cholyav. Sheyamos by Mechlal, the Cholachali Achriti had a different illness. We see that prior Elisha got better from his illness. Taner Rabbanan, what was the sickness of Elisha? Elisha had three sicknesses. One was because he pushed the Echazi away with two hands. He rejected him completely. And one was what? Shagira Dubim Biti Noikes, that he incited the beers against the children. Ve'echad shemeis by, and the third illness that he died from, shenemar Elisha chalas chalav sheyamos by. We go back to the Mishnah, he lines to the bottom, Ela ad shelo yischalu b'malacha, before they begin working, save Amr lahem, al menashe l'chabalei al pas kinnis. So we got involved in this whole lengthy Igadata, because when you promise a worker food, taught the Mishnah, you can never fulfill a promise. To children of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, even a Suda, Shleibik, and Shaita is not enough. So what should he do? You should tell him, I'm only giving you pas kinnis. I'm only Rav Acha Berei, to Rav Yosef, Rav Chizah pas kinnis, Tanano, Ipasu, Vikit, and he is Tanan. Is it two entities or one? Amrlei Alikim, Sarich Avav, Kimarda, Delaburis. We have to put in a vav like a pole for the river, for the pole man in the river Libris, meaning it's pas and kitnius. And we conclude 4 lines from the bottom. This Mishnah Rashbag that which we learned in a Mishnah, also requires a work of armor like and he tells the workers that I'll pay you as much as 1 or 2 of the city's residents. Nice like you give them the lowest wages. He compromises between them. He finds a medium between the workers, and that's what he has to give them. And we continue with the Mishnah on the bottom of Beis Amud Aleph. And these workers can eat midaraisa, one who's working on the foods that are attached to the ground when they are complete. The final stage of the work he's harvesting, he's allowed to eat. Ubetalish, if someone's working with detached produce minakarka, ad shalai nigmar malachtam, before it's complete, before it's fully processed, because at that point you have to take off meiser, etc. But and something that grows from the ground. This is the flip side. On the top of Beis Gamar, when it's not complete. When it's detached, when it's already complete. But everything something that did not grow from the land. So continuing the theme of this parak of different halachas pertaining to the workers. The Mishnah begins by detailing what foods are workers allowed to eat while they work. Says the Gemara, let's figure out what is the makar for these halachas. 3 lines down, we begin the Gemara. Minan, immediately, where do we see this? In the Psukim, Techsev says the pasuk Yisava b'kerem riyacha. When you come to the vineyard of your friend, v'achalta, and you should eat. Ashchan kerem, says the Gemara. So we see someone who's in a vineyard, he's allowed to eat v'achalta. Call Mili, excuse me, call Mili Minalan. Where do we know other types of work as well? Eat Kamina mi kerem, ma kerem, miuchad, davar shekdula karko b'shas gemar malacha. And when the work is complete, payal oichel by the grapes. I've called davar shekdula karka b'shas gemar malacha. Payal oichel by. Says the Gemara, so we can learn now from kerem, from a vineyard. Ask the Gemara 1 second. Malik kerem shkin chayav ba'ilolois, but kerem has its unique dinim. Kerem has the din of ayilois, which are the incomplete grapes. One has to leave for the aniyim. Answers Gemara, Gamrina mikama. Let's learn from kama, from standing grain. Says the Gemara, kama gufa minalin. So where do you know from standing grain? And you can pluck the ears with your hands. Says more 1 second, but grain has a chiyav chala, so maybe you can learn from it. Says the Gemara, how do you know this is a kama shkin chayaves? Umimai. Dai kama dim chali. How do you know we're dealing with grain that is a chiyav chala? Dolma called kama kamar. Maybe he's talking about all types of standing grain, even those that do not have a chiyav chala. Kamar rachmana, says the Torah. So Asiya kama says the Gemara, we have a gzera shava. Kseva achik becomes riach. Kseva asa mechal chamish bekama mahasam kama mechaves bechala. Avachanami come to mechaves bechala. So says the Gemara, how do you learn out from kama? Because kama has its unique dinim that is chayvin chala. Says the Gemara, no, ikal mifrach malik kama shkin chayeves bim ikal mifrach ma. 1 second, excuse me. So says the Gemara, mahasam come to mechaves bechala. Avacha we're doing kama mechaves bechala. And therefore, this is the end of the kasha. Meaning, this is the kasha. We asked, how do you learn out from Kama? It's Chai v'Chala. We said maybe it's even Kama that's not Chai v'Chala. Proves the Gemara Kama, it's referring to Dafka that's yes Chai v'Chala. So says the Gemara, okay, we're stuck. How do we learn out from Kama of Chai v'Chala? Answers the Gemara, the obvious teretz, Kerem Yoichiach. We have two limudim. Learn out for the vineyard. Malay Kerem Shekayvas ba'oilois. Kerem has the chi of oilois. You have to leave over those incomplete clusters for the poor. And therefore, in classical Gemara sense, explains the Gemara, the Chazar Adin. Loi Rizek, the first one line is Re'i, smack in the middle of the Amud Bezayim in the base. Hatzara Shava Shaven, Shchein Davar Shekidu Loi Karko, B'Shas K'mar Melacham, Poyel Oichel Boy. Af Kol Davar Shekidu Loi Karko, B'Shas K'mar Melacha, Poyel Oichel Boy. So the Gemara suggests that the Makar for our din of our Mishnah, that a worker is allowed to eat the produce that he's working with at the Gemara Melacha, is learned out from where? Is learned out from Hatzara Shava of Kama and Kama and Kerem. Asks the Gemara 1 second. Both grapes and flour have a tzad mizbeach. They're brought up as karbanos. So therefore, we can learn out olives, which also have sad mizbeach. However, everything else that don't go on the mizbeach, how are we going to learn that a worker is allowed to eat them? Asks the Gemara, the zayis v'ma'atzad. I'll see. Do you need to learn out zayis from this ma'atzad? Who gufei kerem ikri. We know zaytim olives are also referred to as kerem. Techsev ivarmi gadish ad kama vad kerem zayis. So you don't have to learn out zayis from the Sarah Shaveh, because zayis is kerem. Amar Abba kerem zayis ikri, but kerem stama lo ikri. Okay, so you have to learn out zayis from the Sarah Shaveh. But says the Gemara, okay, but we're stuck. Mikol makom kasha. Lemaisa, how do we learn out other foods that do not have a tzad mizbeach? Elo Amar Shmuel Amar Kra. Shmuel says a new mekar for the din of the Mishnah, says in the pasuk v'char meish. The rabbi is called Balei Charmesh. Says Shmuel, from the pasuk we can learn out anything that is harvested with a charmesh, which is a sickle. Therefore, all types of grains and beans and whatnot, we'll learn out. You can eat them at the Shas Gemar Melacha. Says Gemara 1 second. V'charmesh v'bayalei b'shas charmesh achol. You eat it when you take it down with a sickle. Shlo b'shas charmesh lo yitaychal. But you're not allowed to eat it when you don't use the sickle. So says the Gemara. That this pasuk is teaching me that charmesh is the Gemara Melacha. But how do we now have any pasuk left to teach me that you're allowed to eat it at the Gemara Melacha? Says the Gemara, no, we can learn that out from the fact that it says you can't put it in your vessel. That's where we know that at the time that you cut it is the Gemara Melacha. The word charmesh is extra to teach me that you're allowed to eat from the time Gemara Melacha. Says the Gemara Tinach Davar Charmesh, the same type of kasha. So something that's harvested with a sickle, great. Lavar Charmesh minolon. So says the Gemara, attempt number 3 again. Really 4. It was Kerem. It was Kama. It was Sarashava of Kerem and Kama. It was Shmuel of Charmesh. And now Elo Amar Rav Yitzchak, 12 lines from the white lines. Amar Kra. Kama. The rabbis call Balei Kama. Says the Gemara, 1 second, you forgot the kasha from a moment ago. Hani mili mikri denesi charmesh. Says the Gemara, no. Kama is going to teach me something that was caught with a charmesh that doesn't have a chiv chala. Hashas a charmesh is rabbi called over charmesh. Avagav deloy mechayiv b'chala. So kama lamali the rabbis call balei kama. So it's really going to be a refusing to limudim, refusing kama with charmesh. Says Gemara 1 second. What do we need the pasuk of kerem? Amarava lil chaysav. You're right. We need the pasuk of kikom zeriacha for a different halacha. Kidetani kitavai nemar kan bia. When you come into the field, you enter the field. Never la'alam lo savai alav hashemesh, and the sun should not rest upon it. Mala'alam b'poyel akasim idaber. Afkan bebayla kasam medaber. It's talking about a worker. And what do we learn now from the worker? Bekerem reyecha. V'loi bekerem kuti. The halachas apply to kerem reyecha of Yidin, and not in the kerem of kuti. Pauses the Gemara and says, 1 second. I understand that the work there is a mandarma that holds you allowed to steal from kutim. So mukim la bekerem reyecha, says the Gemara, v'lo shel hektish. So we're gonna have to learn how kerem reyecha and not of hektish. So now the Gemara says, okay, let's go back to the Braisa. V'achaltam, says the pasuk, v'lo might, it's not sucking the grapes. Anavim, v'lo anavim v'davar acher. Ki nafshecha, ki nefshel balabayis, kach nafshel poyel. Ma nafshecha oichel upaiter. Just like the balabayis himself eats and is potter, you don't have to take off meiser before you eat the things in the field. Af nafshel poyel oichel upaiter. And we conclude, sav echa, v'lo echile gasa, kil echam, v'lo sitein, now, when you put it into the kingdom of Abayis, that's oichel. In the kingdom of Abayis, only when you're putting them into the kingdom of Abayis, only when you're engaging in picking the fruit, you let it eat it. Before you put it into the keli, before it's chayiv and meiser. So that's what the pasuk of kitarva bekarem riachos. The Gemara is concluding that it's a combination of charmish and kama. Teaches the din in the Mishnah that at the Gemara Melacha, a worker that works with the produce is allowed to eat those produce. I'll pick it up from here. B'siyata dishmaya.